Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Barry. I'm your host for this afternoon's webinar. It's my pleasure that you've chosen to join me. And today's session should take about 30 minutes, and that will give you the opportunity to better understand the cruises that are available on Carnival for 2013 in Europe, where we have 2 ships deployed for the summer season. Now, if you haven't joined a webinar before, just a heads up that in the top right-hand corner of your screen, you will see a toolbox or a control panel. Within that toolbox you have the facility to send me a few questions. So as questions spring to mind, I encourage you to type them into that little control box, send them through to me, and I will do my best to answer as many of those as possible at the end of today's presentation. Don't forget as well that if you have dialed in via a telephone, that you can also pop into your audio pin into that area, and that just allows me to control the audio that little bit better. And within this facility you'll also find the opportunity to raise your hand. If you experience any difficulties with the audio or with the visual content of the presentation, do raise your hand. If I see more than 2 people raising their hand at the same time, then it generally indicates that something may not be going quite to plan. Now, we will get things underway, and just to give you a heads up, what we're going to be talking about today is who is Sebastian, who is a typical Carnival cruise guest, and looking a little bit at the 2013 itineraries for the 2 ships that are operating there and the enhancements that are taking place across the fleet, including Funship at 2.0. So let's get things underway, and first of all ask, well, who is Sebastian? And if your name is Sebastian, you have a friend, a loved one, a colleague who is referred to by that name, then I apologize. It's no way intended at them personally. Sebastian is the name that we've given to that little something in your head, or that little person on your shoulder that has a few preconceived ideas, not just about cruising, but about life in general. You know, it might be that little thing in your head that tells you don't want to go to a certain restaurant or a certain party because it's not necessarily your kind of thing. Equally, when considering a cruise, you might not think cruising is your thing. You might be a traditional resort stay type person, or equally you may be an existing cruiser who maybe doesn't understand the Carnival concept. So we're asking you, for the purposes of today, just to zip the little mouth on that little Sebastian, or pop that little Sebastian in the corner, and come here with an open mind, have a better that will then give you the opportunity to have a better understanding of what Carnival is and really what makes the true Carnival atmosphere on board. So moving on, we'll have a look at who is the Carnival guest. And there are a lot of preconceived ideas that Sebastian may have about who a Carnival guest is. It's important to note that the average age of a Carnival cruiser is about 47. Having said that, though, it does change from cruise to cruise, from season to season. One thing that is certainly true is that all Carnival guests are spirited. They are very energetic, very engaging, very welcoming to socialise with other people. We do carry about 1.8 million children annually, but don't let that put you up if you're not travelling with children, because we have some of the most amazing children's facilities available at sea to make sure that no matter what your age, whether you're 2 years of old, whether you're 92 years of old, there is something taking place on board to keep you amused and entertained. Now, from Australia, we do attract a lot of extended families, so whether that's grandparents travelling with their children, with their grandchildren, maybe with a few aunties and uncles, that seems to work exceptionally well. Equally, we do attract younger couples and groups of younger couples with similar interests. Maybe they're heading away for just a general friends reunion. They're gathering from various different places around the world, or maybe they have a special interest at heart that they'll be sharing on board the cruise. Now, one thing that Carnival does exceptionally well is if you are a traditional resort-style guest, i.e. in the industry we sometimes refer to them as fly and flop guests, i.e. you fly to a destination and you remain within that resort area for the time. There's nothing wrong with that, but we do know that the average satisfaction rate at such a resort hovers around about 83 to 86%. On board a Carnival cruise, we know that our satisfaction rate is about 98%, so we know that by getting you on board the ships, we will truly wow you and blow you away. We also totally understand that you're looking for a fly cruise or fly stay package. Now, we are talking specifically about Europe today, and we know that the majority of you will head to Europe for about 20 days in duration. It's therefore important to know that our longest cruise in Europe is only 12 days, but you can put more than one cruise back to back, or we can package that up for you with the help of either your travel agent or ourselves to get you your flights, your cruise, maybe a little bit of pre and post accommodation, or maybe even some touring in that particular region as well. And whilst we do generally advertise a lead-in price of, say, $100 per person per day, or a 7-night cruise from $600 as an example, we do know that you as the Australian traveller have quite discerning tastes, and you quite often look for balconies or suites when choosing your next cruise. So let's take a little look at what's included in the price of a Carnival cruise. Well, all Carnival pricing is in Australian dollars. It is inclusive of port charges, taxes and gratuities. So there's very little more to pay whilst you're away. In summary, all of your accommodation is included, most of your meals are included, most of your entertainment and activities are included. So really beyond alcohol, a few soft drinks, maybe a little gamble in the casino, maybe a spa treatment and a shore excursion, pretty much everything is taken care of. So it really is exceptionally good value for money. There is certainly no accommodation in the world where you can stay for $100 a night and have the inclusive aspect of a Carnival cruise. Now let's take a little look at what's happening with the deployment. If you're a particular cruise buff and are very keen to get a better understanding of what's happening with our ships, we do have a few minor changes for 2013. First of all, Carnival Spirit is leaving the international fleet and heading down to Australia. That means that it's going to be handled by our friends and colleagues at Complete Cruise Solutions. If you have a question or a concern about Carnival Spirit whilst in Australia, I would strongly urge you to connect with them. Here at Travel the World, we represent the 23 other international ships, and the 4 that are displayed on the screen there have a few deployment changes. First of all, the Carnival Splendor heads via South America and repositions into New York, whereas Carnival Miracle heads through the Panama Canal and repositions to the west coast and replaces Carnival Splendor. Carnival Miracle will operate from Alaska and also down to the Mexican Riviera. Carnival Splendor, once over in New York, will operate out to the Bahamas and the Southern Caribbean. So let's take a little look at what happens when Legend and Destiny disappear across the Atlantic. Well, first of all, Carnival Legend and Carnival Sunshine, because Carnival Destiny does have a complete refurbishment, which we'll talk about more in just a second, but both of the 2 ships that will be in Europe for 2013 will be operating out of 3 ports, so Venice, Barcelona and Dover for the UK. Carnival Legend will operate from all 3. Carnival Sunshine, which was previously Carnival Destiny, will operate out of Barcelona and Venice only. The brochure image that you see on the right hand side there is our latest Europe 2013 brochure, which is now available to order for you to peruse the various cruise options that are there. Now the fast facts on these ships are pretty simple. Carnival Legend is actually a sister ship to the Carnival Spirit. That Spirit, the class of ships, are known as the Ship of Eights. They're 88,000 tons. They have 88% of their staterooms with ocean views, and 88% of those ocean view staterooms also have a private balcony. Now she does carry a little over 2,000 guests. She was launched in 2002 but was completely refurbished at the end of 2011, so she's looking pretty flash right now. As I mentioned, she does sail from Venice, Barcelona and Dover, and she operates on 12-night duration cruises, but you can put those cruises back to back in some instances and sail for up to 12, 24, 36 or 48 nights. Carnival Sunshine, on the other hand, is a larger ship. She's actually 102,000 tons and carries just a little over 3,000 guests, and technically is being launched in 2013 because, of course, the changes that are happening to what was Carnival Destiny are so dramatic and so sweeping that we have actually completely renamed and are treating this ship as a relaunch. So she will be sailing out of Venice and Barcelona only on a combination of 9 and 12 night itineraries. We'll take a detailed look at the itineraries that they'll be offering in a little while, but first of all let's take a little look at the ship and what you can find on board. So taking a little look at Carnival Legend, which you see on the screen there in front of you, this is your typical accommodation, which if you've sailed with Carnival before you'll be very familiar with. Now, in my honest opinion, it's nowhere near as orange or pink in some instances in real life than it looks on the screen. It's very much just the lighting that has set that mood or tone for the purpose of the photography. No matter what grade of accommodation you book into, you will always have that beautiful Carnival comfort bed. You'll have your vanity area, you'll have your small lounge area, you'll have your expansive wardrobe and storage space, and then of course you'll have your private bathroom as well. Now on the left hand top there you're looking at the inside staterooms, which of course can be configured as a queen if you prefer. You then have the ocean views to the bottom left. Now that is an old picture. The TVs are actually flat screen TVs now. They have been replaced as part of the 2011 upgrades on Legend. Over on the top right, you have your balcony staterooms there, pretty similar, but you do, of course, have that private deck space for you to read a book, sit with a loved one, maybe enjoy some room service. And then down on the bottom right, you also have the suites, which are available in various different categories on board Legend. Now, the accommodation that you'll see on the next screen from Carnival Sunshine is very different. It follows a very similar theme to Carnival Breeze, which we launched just a few days ago out of Venice. In fact, she launched on Monday of this week. Now, Carnival Sunshine, as you can see, very clean, very minimalist, very bright and airy. The top left there is, of course, an inside stateroom, an ocean view down to the bottom left. Top right is a wrap-around ocean view, which you can see there with the expansive picture window. And the bottom right is the traditional balcony. We don't actually have any artist impressions of the suites at this stage, but I'm sure you'll agree that the mood, the tone and the lighting is very light and refreshing. So that's Carnival Sunshine for next year. Now, on any of the Carnival ships, it doesn't matter what ship you were to sail on, we do have some consistencies across the fleet. The first of which is that room service is complimentary. Now, I say that with the exception of Carnival Spirit down here in Australia, which may be slightly different, and I always urge you to connect with the Complete Cruise Solutions team or your travel agent to get a better understanding of that particular ship when it's down here in Australia. The 23 other ships in the fleet do have complimentary room service. They do have an expansive Lido buffet area, which is where you'll find your rotisserie, you'll find your salad bars, you'll find your dessert stations, you'll find the Indian buffets, you'll find the Mongolian woks, you'll find the 24-hour pizzerias, the soft serve ice cream. The list goes on and on. Now, of course, an extension to the Lido area is also the specialty coffee store with those beautiful cakes that you also see. Now, there is a small surcharge for the cake and coffee in that particular venue. We also have a sushi bar on board the ships, and of course, no matter who you're traveling with, if you are traveling with children or you just prefer something a little lighter one day, then of course we do have specialty menus, whether it's salads from the spa cuisine or whether it's the children's menus that are also available. Now, in the main dining room, you do have a choice of choosing traditional early or late dining. That means you dine at the same time every evening and dine with the same people and have the same waiters. Later dining in that instance is very popular with Australian travellers. Most Australians, however, do prefer the flexible dining approach, which means you can go into the dining room at any time between 5:30 and 9 p.m. It does change time-wise in certain destinations just slightly, but that just gives you a rough idea. And on board all of our ships, we also have on most of our ships, we also have a specialty restaurant, which is the Steakhouse, previously known as the Supper Club, and that is the only restaurant that we have on board where there is a surcharge. That is $35 US per person, and it is certainly one of the most beautiful prime age steaks, beautiful seafoods, very attentive waiter service, etc. Now, on our two latest ships, Carnival Miracle and Carnival Breeze, we do also have Cucina della Capitano, which is a family dining specialty restaurant, but that is only found on those two particular restaurants, and there is also a small surcharge to dine in there. But on the 21 other ships, the Steakhouse is the only specialty dining choice. Now, when it comes through to your accommodation, we do have an abundance of choice from, as I said before, 2 years of age right through to 92 years of age. Our activities for our children start with Camp Carnival, which caters from 2 through to 11 years of age. Now, that is broken down into subgroups of that age bracket, but you are all in a shared vicinity, so siblings will be in the same room, but they'll be doing different age-appropriate activities. However, once you get to 12 through to 14 years of age, that's where you venture into Circle C. That is a completely different and separate area of the ship, and is only open to those age groups. And then we have Club 02, which is for 15 through to 17 years of age, which is exclusively for our teenagers. Now, of course, we also have 3 to 4 swimming pools on board, and up to 8 hot tubs, depending on the ship that you're travelling on. And of course, we have the waterworks, which is our splash area, our water slides, our flumes, and area for the children and the young at heart to be able to enjoy that. Now, if you're not travelling with children, or maybe you are travelling with children, but you want a little bit of time out, of course, we have the Cloud9 Spa, and we have the fitness facilities that are associated with that. But we also have the Serenity Retreat, which is an adults-only area on the aft or the back of the ship, which allows you just to have a little bit of time out. We have extra thick mattresses, we have very attentive waiter service, and adults-only hot tubs, and no children are allowed into this vicinity. Throughout the evening, we have high-energy dance shows taking place in the main show lounge. We have karaoke with a twist in that it is karaoke with a live band. We have the Punchline Comedy Club, we have the Seaside Theatre. The list really does go on and on. So no matter what your age or your interest, there really is something on board for absolutely everybody to partake in. Now we are undergoing a major enhancement program across the fleet, which is referred to as Funship 2.0. That is quite a dramatic phase that we go through when we see $500 million being spent between 2011 and 2015. Now, as we mentioned, Carnival Destiny will go through Funship 2.0 to become the Carnival Sunshine. She actually receives Funship 2.0 and so much more. But to give you an idea of Funship 2.0 in its general terms and what you will see added to the fleets as we go through this enhancement phase, then let's take a little look at the coming slides. Starting off with the Punchline Comedy Club. Now, this has been on our ships for many years, but we have actually expanded upon this. It's now presented by George Lopez, who is a comedian in North America. He's actually out and about seeking new raw talent for the ships, and we have 3 comedians per ship every evening who will present their short comedy shows, about 20 minutes to 30 minutes in duration. They're generally repeated 2 to 3 times per night, so everybody gets a chance to see at least one comedian per night throughout the cruise. And they have proven so popular that we've actually introduced the Carnival Punchline Comedy Brunch Club, which means that you can have a lie-in, you can have a late breakfast or a snack, and have some light entertainment in the form of the comedy club as well. So that's proving popular too. Now, a couple of years ago, probably 18 months ago to 2 years ago, we did realise that the Humble Burger was losing a little bit of interest. Certainly flavour of the month was Mexican, salad bars, sushi bars, etc. So to reinvigorate our dedicated burger areas, we partnered with a gentleman by the name of Guy Fieri, who's a celebrity chef in North America, and he's really enhanced upon what we had previously. And you'll see from the image on the screen in front of you now, or coming to you now, it's got very much an American diner style feel to it. It has the celebrity endorsement, but there is no surcharge. So yes, while you might be having a celebrity endorsed burger or a specialty treat, there is no surcharge to dine in this area. It is just an extension of the Lido buffet. Continuing on, this time having a quick look at the entertainment. We are aware that with Carnival, very much guest participation is part of the ambience and the experience that you have on board. Personally, I know that there's nothing funnier than folk. So to have the ability to encompass 36 guests as part of the game show, where families and individuals will compete through various different activities such as Connect 4 basketball, Yahtzee bowling, Sorry sliders, to name just a few, and ultimately win some really great prizes on board. It's proving immensely popular on the ships that we have it already, and I'm sure it'll be even popular once it's and enhanced upon even further once it's rolled out to the rest of the fleet. Continuing with one of the new improved bar areas, we have sports bars on board all of the ships. We're actually upgrading them at the moment into the EA sports bars, which is quite possibly the largest wall of sport to be found at sea. I'm sure you'll agree from the image, which will come through to you in just a second. Yes, it does have the sporting memorabilia. It has a cleaner image, for want of a better word, but the ability to show so much sport in one area is excellent news. Now, what sport we show, it really does depend on where the ship is and what satellite it can pick up, but in Europe it tends to be a lot of Europe-intensive sport, and of course in the Caribbean, Mexican Riviera and Alaska it would be a lot of North American sport. Keeping with the entertainment theme, we do have of course dance clubs on board or nightclubs on board. All of our ships we have dance classes, etc. But one thing that we did find, and not to speak badly of our DJs, but I'm sure you've all been to the wedding where the DJ has the uncanny ability to be able to clear the dance floor with one change of the music. Well, DJ Erie has been brought in to help with that, and he's putting through all of the DJs on board through the Spinniversity, which teaches them new tips and tricks. It improves upon their playlists, and it really has drastically changed the vibe and the ambience, not only to the dance clubs, but also to the public areas that we use the DJs in at various different times of the day. So on board most of our ships by early 2013, we will have an endorsed DJ, for want of a better word, and we'll also have a DJ in training, which will still be going through Spinniversity to get that additional knowledge. Now, on Carnival Magic, just a couple of years ago, last year in fact, we did launch the Red Frog Pub, which also served the Thirsty Frog Red, which was a beer. Now, on some of the ships, we don't have the space or the ability to add the full pub atmosphere. So what we have done in some cases is introduced the Red Frog Rum Bar. And within the Red Frog Rum Bar, you'll notice that the colour scheme is predominantly red. The drinks are predominantly rum-based or the draft Thirsty Frog Red beer. Whereas just across the way on the opposite side of the ship, we also have the Blue Iguana Tequila Bar. Now the Blue Iguana Tequila Bar has colourings of blue, so we very quickly identified that guests tend to have a sporting team in mind that is either red or blue in their predominant colours. Guests either prefer rum or tequila, or they prefer draft or bottled beers. And from one of those choices, they naturally gravitate to one or the other of these two bars. And it's actually become a camaraderie type of atmosphere and quite competitive amongst the various guests that do frequent the two venues. So it's proving immensely popular again. Now, an extension to the Blue Iguana Tequila Bar is the Blue Iguana Cantina, which follows the same Mexican theme, which allows our guests to enjoy complimentary tacos, nachos, tortillas, to name just a few beautiful homemade suggestions. And it certainly is flavour of the month. We do have the cantina on board the majority of our ships, but it is slowly being improved upon as we roll out the Blue Iguana across various different ships in the fleets. And to go back to a different bar facility, for those of you that may have cruised on Carnival in the past, we previously had a aft bar, or a paparazzi bar, which it was also known as, which was very, very popular. But we wanted to improve upon that even further, and we looked to use the alchemy, which has been rolled out on one ship so far and is proving very, very popular. What the alchemy is the theme of a pharmacy or a chemist of yesteryear. Our bar staff or lab technicians all wear the white lab coats, and rather than you choosing from a drinks menu, you actually choose from the periodic table, or alternatively you speak to one of the lab technicians and they will note down some of your ailments and prescribe a drink or concoction to lift your spirits or change your mood depending on the flavoured ingredients that you mentioned. Now, they have a whole array of infused herbal alcohol and non-alcoholic drinks that are available, and again it is very, very popular, and we'll slowly see this progressively rolled out on a few of the ships within the fleet. Not all ships have the ability to host the alchemy bar, and equally not all ships have the ability to host the library, so you will find that most ships get either one or the other. The library, of course, is, as the name suggests, it's a library. We have a small library on board all of our ships, but what we increasingly have noticed is that many guests will take a drink to the library because they want a little bit of quiet time to read their book, or they want a bit of quiet conversation. So to provide a service, we have actually introduced the self-serve wine dispenser, where you swipe your sail and sign card, you choose your wine of preference and the size of the serving that you prefer, and that's available from the self-serve kiosk. Also in the evenings we also have bartenders who will mix up maybe a cocktail or a specialty drink of some description for you as well. So that kind of summarizes what is happening with Funship 2.0, which is very exciting indeed. Now, just to quickly touch upon Carnival Legend, which will not have Funship 2.0 prior to starting its European season, so it's important that you know that. But she is looking stunning, and I'm sure you'll agree from the images on the screen in front of you. She's a very contemporary type ship. She still has lots of colourful areas. But having just gone through a dry dock at the end of 2011, she really has no need to receive the Funship 2.0 upgrades at this stage. So let's take a little look at what Carnival Legend offers in Europe for 2013. As I mentioned at the start, she'll be home ported in Venice, Dover and Barcelona. The first itinerary that you see on the left-hand side there sees her sailing from Barcelona through to Venice, calling in Mallorca, which is one of the Balearic Islands, calling at Marseille for the French Riviera, Olbia for Sardinia, Livorno for Florence and Pisa, Civitavecchia, which is the port for Rome, Naples for Mount Vesuvius, Capri or Sorrento, Messina for Sicily, always a very popular port, and then Dubrovnik for Croatia before arriving and having an overnight stay in Venice. So it's a true highlight to be able to stay on board the ship and enjoy a day and a half there in Venice itself. You'll see the 12-night cruise starts at $1,300 for an inside cabin, but I am aware that many of you choose to book a balcony, and even at $1,900, I'm sure you'll agree, inclusive of port charges, taxes and gratuities, that it's exceptionally good value. Over on to the right there, you'll see that we have a reposition cruise where, having spent a few months up cruising in the Baltics and the Norwegian fjords, we then head back from London back through to the Med. So this will see you calling in Lisbon, Portugal, Malaga, Spain, Marseille in France, Monaco, Livorno for Florence and Pisa, Rome, of course, Civitavecchia, and ultimately ending back up in Barcelona. That reposition cruise there is $1,500 for the 12-night duration for an inside cabin. Now, whilst we are in Northern Europe with the Legends, you do get a great opportunity to sail and have overnight stays in St. Petersburg. So why not cruise on a round trip out of Dover and take in the beauty of Copenhagen, Warnemünde, which is the port for Berlin, Helsinki for Finland, overnight in St. Petersburg, Tallinn for Estonia, and then Amsterdam in the Netherlands before returning back into Dover. Now, the taxes in this particular part of the world tend to be a little bit higher, so the lead-in price for the Baltic cruises is actually $1,800, which is still great value for money for a 12-night round-trip cruise. Alternatively, you may want to go through to Norway and Western Europe. This cruise again is a round trip Dover, over to the right there, and sees you calling in Alsund, Bergen, Stavanger and Oslo for Norway. So 4 Norwegian ports there, before then heading into Hamburg, Amsterdam and Zeebrugge, and then finally Le Havre for France before returning back into the UK. And that's a $1,600 lead-in price for the 12-night cruise. The great thing about the Legend itineraries is that in some instances you can do more than one cruise back-to-back. So you can do 24, 36 or 48 nights on the same ship and only repeat a few key ports of call. So the first example there is the Barcelona through to Dover, which will see you depart and take in the Western Med, so from Barcelona through to London, and then do the round-trip London continuing on into the Baltics. That 24-night cruise is 3,250 Australian dollars. Equally, the 36-night cruise and the 48-night cruise are also available, but you'll see the majority of those departures are in either June, August or September. Carnival Sunshine, on the other hand, will be sailing out of only Barcelona or Venice. She has a choice of 9 or 12-day itineraries. In a nutshell, the 9-day itinerary does the best of the Mediterranean, sailing round trip out of Barcelona. The 12-day version of a round-trip Barcelona also incorporates trips into Dubrovnik and also having the overnight in Venice as well. So a lead-in price for a 9-night cruise starts at about 1,157 Australian dollars. The 12-night cruise at only 1,475 Australian dollars. Equally, out of Venice, you can do a Venice to Barcelona or Barcelona through to Venice on either a 9 or a 12-night duration as well, and some alternate options just populating on your screen now. And last but by no means least, we are talking predominantly about Europe today, but I did mention that the Carnival Splendor, which is a very well-loved ship with Australians, having many people cruised with her down to the Mexican Riviera. She is repositioning through South America, and you'll see the various sectors that are located on the screen now, whether that's Los Angeles through to Valparaiso, Valparaiso through to Buenos Aires, or Buenos Aires through to New York. Los Angeles to Valparaiso, that first sector, has a nice balance of sea days and port days. Valparaiso to Buenos Aires and Buenos Aires to New York has a majority port days, so very port intensive, hence the slightly higher price there. But you can actually do the 3 cruises combined back to back, which equates to about a 42-day duration. And with your flights from Australia, 1 night's accommodation and the full voyage, you're looking at a lead-in price of just over 5,000 Australian dollars. Incredibly good value to see that particular part of the world. Now, if I was to leave you today with just a couple of key facts, the first 5 points there are located on the left-hand side of the screen. The most important thing that is Carnival, with Carnival, it is cheaper to book further out. So if you're booking more than 5 months out, then do be sure to ask your reservations consultant about the early saver fares, IES. But do note they are non-flexible. Their terms and conditions are quite strict, but if you are prepared to put down your money and commit and know that you're definitely going to go, then the IES would certainly be the way to go. Don't forget that we have Funship 2.0 happening across various different ships throughout the fleet between now and 2015. And in Europe, you're looking at Carnival Legend out of Barcelona, Venice or Dover. or Carnival Sunshine from Barcelona and Venice. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to speak to your local travel agent or call our friendly consultants on 1300 857 437, or you can drop an email through to travel@traveltheworld.com.au. Or if you happen to have a groups inquiry, maybe there's a group of 8 cabins or more, then groups@traveltheworld.com.au may be able to assist you as well. For any further information about Carnival Legend, Carnival Sunshine, or the fleet in general, don't hesitate to go to www.traveltheworld.com.au/carnival, and that will give you all of the latest information as new things happen across the various ships within the fleet. I hope you've found today's webinar beneficial. It's a pleasure that you've taken 30 minutes or so to join me today, and we hope that we can welcome you on a future webinar, and we do have others in the pipeline, including a Windstar webinar on the 27th of June. So let's just head over to the question box now to see if we have any questions in that inbox. But if you do need to dash off, I completely understand.